Long John Silver's just became the first major national seafood chain to offer plant-based seafood options. The chain has partnered with Gathered Foods, which makes Good Catch plant-based seafood. And we are joined now by Gathered Foods CEO Christine May. Christine, thanks so much for being with us. If you could just lay out this partnership you have now with Long John Silver's and what does it mean for your brand?
Well, good afternoon, Alexis. Thanks so much for inviting me to talk to you today. We are absolutely pleased to partner and be the first partner with Long John Silver's to be able to feature plant-based seafood. We started on July the 19th, and we are in test market with them at 5 different locations. It's featuring 2 of our newest innovations from our breaded line. So we're having Good Catch plant-based breaded fishless fillets and Good Catch plant-based crabless cakes. There's 5 different ways to experience it. We have a Good Catch plant-based platter. We have a filet meal. We have a crab meal. We also can offer it a la carte, either having the fish-free filet or the crabless cake. So we're really, really excited to be in this test with Long John Silver's. It's been such a pleasure to be able to collaborate because it's really all about raising awareness about plant-based seafood.
So I should then ask Christine, because some of those images looked incredibly tasty. How does the tech work really, to create this plant-based seafood?
Well, that's a great question. It has taken quite some time to be able to deliver it. One of the most important differentiating factors when you eat seafood is the texture versus, say, some of the other animal proteins. And so when you bite into seafood, you expect not something that's very hearty, but something that has a light, flaky texture. And it took us a couple of years to develop that. We want to make sure that we curate experiences for consumers that deliver a delicious taste, because if you taste good, then you're going to come back. Because people are still learning about the availability and just the whole impetus of plant-based seafood. So we really want to be able to deliver a delicious taste, an unmistakable texture that gives you that seafood experience, and also comparable protein that our consumers really, really crave. And we achieve that through our 6 legume blend. And so we have peas, chickpeas, lentils, soy, fava beans, and navy beans.
I want to talk about the addressable market here for plant-based seafood. At the moment, we're seeing higher prices for just about everything, including seafood. And some restaurants are actually taking seafood off their menu. Do you think that that's going to create an opportunity for your products?
I think it's a great question. We have this, what I would call the pandemic effect, right? And the pandemic effect has really affected people, consumers, businesses. I think that the fortunate thing for our supply chain, it has got, it's very, very closely monitored and verified to have great product integrity. And I think that certainly we have the option to be this alternative to the animal proteins. It is also enabling us to raise awareness, right? To reduce harm, preserve environmental resources. So there's no anxieties about mercury or toxins, bycatch, or even overfishing. So we are absolutely looking forward to have a broader presence on many, many different menus.
Christine, I want to ask you about price, because this is something that we've heard, essentially levied at Impossible and Beyond, for example, about how their products are more expensive than the meat alternatives that they can get. And I'm on the website right now for Good Catch, and I'm just noticing, for example, some of those tuna pouches. They run about $1 in the grocery store. And on your site, they're $3.50 for one pouch, and that's the one that's on sale. They're even more expensive, $5 for some of the other varieties. That's a pretty big difference, at least when it comes to the price. Are you envisioning that the prices will always stay here? Is there work to make sure that there is lowering some of those costs for the consumers? And what do you say to those consumers who say, frankly, $5 for a pouch of plant-based tuna just really isn't economically feasible?
We are a startup right now. And so we have some controlled presence in many different regions. But in order for us to be able to achieve true scale, that's at that moment, I think that's when we'll be able to adjust prices, because we need scale. As a startup, we do have specific demands on kind of our own P&L. But we want to be able to offer the value for our consumers to first experience it. And, as more and more consumers experience us, not only in the US, but around the world, we'll be able to drive that scale, to be able to drive that volume, and be able to offer that and pass that savings on to the consumers.
I want to ask you quickly about the health factor. And I'm just going to use Beyond Meat as an example. I believe Impossible Foods has also come up against this. Some are saying that, they contain high sodium and saturated fats, and so that they're not perfect. What's the situation with plant-based seafood, and what are those sodium levels and fat levels like there?
Well, Alexis, this is a good question. I'd have to probably delve in and sit down with our R&D team to be able to provide the exact amounts. But I think that our process is actually very, very simple. So we are not a highly processed product. And we do absolutely look at just adding minimal flavorings to the 6 legumes that I just described earlier to be able to provide a very, very healthy option for consumers.
I think right now so many companies are really focused on targeting beef and chicken right now. Not as many right now offering some of those plant-based seafood alternatives. Are you always going to focus on fish, plant-based seafood, or are you perhaps thinking about going up against a company like Beyond or Impossible and start creating some plant-based, beef and chicken products as well?
Well, Good Catch was really founded because it's a chef-driven, innovative food brand, right? That is focused on delivering and developing very flavorful, 100% plant-based seafood, and that is our near-term commitment to our consumers. When you look at plant-based seafood, the industry, it's expected to grow about 12-fold over the next 10 years to about $1.3 billion. And for us, our first mission is to positively disrupt. And this is a wonderful white space for us to be able to propel change so we can have this plant-based food solution that also supports ocean health. So our near-term commitment is to focus on the sea. There's over 200 to 300 different species that live in the ocean. And so there's plenty of opportunity for us to stay creative and innovative.
Real quick, Christine, what stores are you in right now? I know you got the Long John Silver's deal. That's a restaurant, but what about supermarkets?
We have a wide range of presence. It depends on really where you are sitting in the U.S. I mean, if you just put in your zip code, if you go to our website at www.goodcatchfoods.com, you put in your zip code, and then you can find where it is closest to you. But for instance, we are in Whole Foods in the ambient or the shelf stable and the prepared food sections. And we have a number of different chains that we are with at retail. But I think the best thing to do is to be able to go to the website, and you can see there's a wide variety of major chains that you're familiar with, but also natural and independents.
All right, Christine May, CEO of Gathered Foods. We appreciate your time today.